Hey lovely artist friends, in today's video I will be painting for you this rainbow multicolored floral watercolor painting. It's got hibiscus, it's got, lily, roses, pansy, and I'm using a Vintage Illustration Botanical painting as inspiration. So if you like what you see, keep watching the video. Hey gorgeous friends, today I am going to paint this. It's a beautiful vintage floral piece by Willem van Leen, a Dutch painter. Found it on Pinterest. As you know, I am obsessed with vintage florals, and I've got a Pinterest board full of vintage florals that I will be picking from when we do our course, my course, recreating vintage florals with watercolor that begins in September next month. So I will be doing a little one today, this one, and I'm really attracted to it because, as you know, I love a rainbow bouquet. Yeah, it's not really a bouquet, but what I mean, it's got red, it's got yellow, it's got blue, it's got green. It's got all the colors in the whole spectrum, purple down there, and that just really draws me in all the time to recreate. So let's do that. I have my 9 by 12 100% cotton Medan watercolor paper and my regular paints that I use, and all of this can be found in the description below. For Medan, I have a 10% coat, and this watercolor paper I highly recommend. It's 100% cotton. It's really dry. It's really close to Arches, if I can say so myself. And it is basically the sister company of Bao Hong. So it's basically the same paper as Bao Hong Academy if you are used to that. All right, some of my brushes today. I have a variety of flat brushes. So this one is a 3/4 inch flat by Princeton Heritage that I use very often. I'll probably use that for a bit of my petals. And I've got my size 10 round Aqua Elite and a couple others. All right, let's begin. Let's begin. So recreating vintage florals with watercolor is something that I have been doing a lot in my practice since I started painting in watercolor. You know, when you are painting and you are following tutorials, but then when you start coming off tutorials and you want to search for reference photos that are beautiful, you will come across lots of beautiful vintage florals. So vintage meaning like olden style, realistic paintings that they did way before photography was invented, when, you know, a lot of it's like an Enlightenment period, I think, when they went around the world, well, mostly white people who went around the world discovering plants and flowers and documenting them in illustrations. And they're just so accessible today with the internet, with Google, with Pinterest, and I love using them as reference. And when you just started, you might be intimidated by all the details that you see in these references. But that's why in my course that I'll be starting next month, 5 weeks, I'll be taking you through a step-by-step process of how I use these as beautiful references, and how to begin painting watercolor using botanical references. Now it's actually like a foundational watercolor painting loose style course, and I'm using these floral vintage images as reference. So if you've never painted in watercolor before, you're just starting on your journey, it's like a perfect way to just dive deep into the loose style of painting, which I love doing, which if you follow me in my channel, you probably see it quite often. It's fast, it's very loose, it's intuitive, it's free-flowing, which is actually very different from how a lot of these illustrations were created, with very like slow, painstaking detail, right? So I love that contrast. I love the fact that there's this freedom of being able to recreate something of another medium, of a very modern, abstract, expressive medium, but using vintage florals as a reference, as inspiration. Okay, so I'm going for my yellow flower out here. So in this course, I will be taking you through brush strokes, color mixing, supplies, everything you really need to know about loose style watercolor painting. But if you are interested in this particular tutorial and the reference that I'm using, I will upload this into my Patreon. So as a Patreon perk, I will include usually the reference photo of any of the painting that I feature in this YouTube channel. And that is for my advocate tier, the $5 a month tier, where I include the reference photo to my YouTube videos. Or of course, you can go and search it out yourself on Pinterest. It's all available online. So I'm changed to my thinner brush and I'm just putting in some stems, and I'm not following the exact composition of what is there. But like I said, I use it for inspiration, palette inspiration, color inspiration, shape and size, that sort of thing. So I'm placing this pink flower up here rather than down here as per my reference, because actually I want to have a painting today that is more fuller. I just wanted to fill the page a lot more. So I have this pansy down here using a bit of that purple mix. So I mix a bit of ultramarine with pink to get a nice dark stem, and then dipping a bit into my mineral violet. So purple, I find it's quite a challenging color to mix up. A lot of time the ready-made purples can be a tad artificial looking. So it's always actually more advisable to mix up your own purple and use the pink that you have in your painting to mix it up. So I'm purposely making it super wet and bleedy and loose for this painting because I'm just feeling like I want to. Lightening up that blue, cerulean blue here. So where is it? Oh, it's beautiful. So in all these vintage florals, what I really love is that it gives me a lot of suggestions and examples of how I can compose my paintings. And overall, it's just a beautiful practice. So art for me is a practice. Of course, now it's also a job, but more so than any of the time, I really paint what I feel I need to put out there through my art. Okay, definitely not forcing myself to paint in a style or in ways that I don't feel like I want to, which is so important as an artist. Occasionally, there's commission work which pushes my comfort level and comfort zone, and that's important too. But you always need to come back to what is true for you in your heart that makes you light up inside. And just ask yourself also, like when you paint, do you worry more about the result, or do you kind of like find the pleasure and the process more of, I mean, do you paint for the process or do you paint for the outcome? For me, I definitely paint for the process because like I know I have a stack of paintings over there that, yeah, they're nice. I'm proud of them, and I might frame some. I'll put some up for sale, but more often than not, I kind of forget about them, and they're not important to me anymore after I'm done with them. It's almost like use and then forget, because they have served their function. They have served what they're meant to do. All right, so I'm almost done with this first layer, and I want to just be careful not to go too overboard with the first layer and ruin my painting, because I've done that a few times recently. Being very impatient, I start to just drop in colors when it's not very dry and it's in the in-between stage, and then it just looks like a big mess later on. I can show you one or two of them while we wait for this one to dry. It is counterintuitive sometimes to stop. You want to keep going. So there is definitely an element of patience to it as well. All right, so just lifting some wet paint there and there, because if I don't lift it up, sometimes it just takes forever to dry, and I do want to finish doing up this video today. So I'm just lifting up this color, and then we're going to just stop right here. We're going to take a break and then come back when it's pretty dry so we can layer on more details. So we'll be right back. All right, we are back. Everything looks kind of pleasant, a bit washed out, a bit flat. So I'm going to go in with some details, and hopefully it'll bring some of it back to life. Starting with a more saturated permanent rose, I'm going to go in to just mark out some veiny lines on the petals of this. I'm not sure what flower this is. I think it's a lily. Yeah, it's some kind of a lily. And this is where you can use the details that you see in the vintage floral as a guide, because usually vintage illustration have quite a lot of detail, as the whole point of creating that painting is to document the flower, the actual plant, so that people can learn about this. And isn't it amazing how, yeah, there was this period in the world where it's all about documenting. So you can go as detailed as you like, or go a bit more chilled. I'm going to grab a bit of that burnt umber to just tiny lines in the middle. Oh, forgot to say that this is a size 4 silver black velvet. All right, so for the stamen of the lilies is usually a darker bit. So I made it a little bit fatter and a bit more contrasty, just to make it stand out from all the other stuff that's happening in this flower. All right, I'm going to leave that for now, and we might come back a little bit more. I'm going to work on this one up here. So making sure I don't place my my wrist down. So using a bit of that. So my brush had a bit of that black. So it's actually not black, sorry. It is, what is it? Payne's gray. And I dipped that brush into my permanent rose, and it's giving me a really beautiful purple. So now I know there's actually a nice purple mix. So same with this pansy. So just make some marks darker, some fatter, some thinner. Going in with a darker yellow. That's a cadmium yellow. Okay, and now I'm gonna like work on these yellow ones. So grabbing some yellow ochre to help with some shadow marks. Just wriggle the brush in places where you feel like there might be some shadow. Dilute it a little bit, intensify some of it so you have a variety of strokes. Push down the brush, lift the brush. All sorts of ways you can play with getting detail. So in the course that I'm teaching next month called Recreating Vintage Florals in Watercolor, we will be going through many vintage florals with by all these wonderful artists of the past in many different styles as well. So some single flowers, some bouquets like this, and we'll just have a lot of fun to play together. It'll be live, so it is on Zoom Live, and of course if you can attend live, that will be always the best, because then you can get direct feedback from me. You can ask questions. It's 2.5 hours, and each session is 5 sessions over 5 weeks. But of course, there's always the replay if you want to, if you have something on and you just want to come back and watch it. And the most cool part about this course is there is a platform that you can upload your photos of your paintings, and I will get to go in to give feedback and critique, they call it, but I don't really like to critique. It's more feedback, places where you could improve on, what I love about it and stuff. So this is with Pennsylvania Art Studio, which is an amazing little fine art school based in Pennsylvania. But you know, they have all these online courses as well. So I'll link this course information in the description below. You still have time to sign up. And it's the second time I'm doing this course with Penn Art Studio. We did the first one last year. It was a really huge success. It's really fun to deliver an actual, you know, planned course over 5 weeks where we go into different topic syllabus. So we'll cover brush strokes, we'll cover color theory, we'll cover composition, and essence of flower painting, watercolor, and all of that. So now I'm using a bit of yellow now to go over some of my leaves, because the leaves I feel just need a little bit of dimension. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so take a little step back to just review the painting. You can always go more, but sometimes less is more. What I will do though is I'll go over this first lily, just glazing some of the petals with a little bit of paint, because I'm finding the highlights a bit too contrasty. You know, when you find sometimes your lines that you make are a bit too much contrast from the first layer, you can always use water to go and blend it out like that. See, I do give lots of tips in these free YouTube videos. Consider supporting my Patreon. If you love the content that I make here, my Patreon is really fun. I call it the Uncomplicated Artist Movement. We've got a Facebook community, we've got lives. So yes, all the ways where one can be supporting artists on their career, on sharing and learning. All right, so just a little bit more thin strokes here for this flower. This yellow one. Take a step back, see what you like about it, what you don't like about it. I really enjoyed painting this. And the whole point is for me to use a reference photo as inspiration, as a pop-off point for me to paint this. So, you know, I've moved the pink flower over and the purple flower and then some of the blues. And yeah, I learned so much from it. I learned about composition, about size, about variety. If you want to have access to this, it is Willem van Vitleen, or you can go into my Patreon and sign up for my Patreon and you will get a downloadable version of my reference. So there, vintage floral painting turned into watercolor. And there you have it. Thanks so much for watching the whole video. Please subscribe to my channel, check out my course, check out my Patreon, and subscribe to my mailing list. All the links are in the description below here. Otherwise, have a beautiful day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.